When we think about the origins of European Australia, we immediately go back to either Arthur Phillip's First Fleet or the surveying journeys of Captain Cook. But we know that the English came over a century after the Dutch explorers, including Abel Tasman, from whom we get Tasmania. However, almost a century earlier, it's likely that the Portuguese mapped what is in fact some of the Australian coast. But what if I told you the European origins of Australia go back not mere centuries, but over 2 millennia to the time of the ancient Greeks? The idea of our great southern land first dawned in the European mind in the 4th century BC, in the mind of Aristotle. Building on the ideas of a thinker every young Australian would have heard of in maths class, Pythagoras, Aristotle believed the Earth to be spherical and posited that there must be equivalent land masses in the northern and the as yet unknown southern hemisphere in order to keep the Earth balanced. He first developed the idea of Antarctica, believing just as the Arctic was under the constellation of Arctos the Bear, he argued that there must be the anti-Arctos, or a land opposite the Arctic. But Aristotle believed in 5 climate zones, 2 frigid poles, 2 temperate zones, and an impassable burning torrid line at the equator. And so he proposed that north of the far-off frozen continent might just be a hospitable great southern land. In the 2nd century BC, Greek Stoic philosopher Crates of Malus created the first known globe of the Earth, and on it was the 3 known continents at the time, Europe, Asia, and North Africa. But also on the globe was 3 proposed continents that correspond to North and South America and what was known as the Antiocean, which stretches from southern Africa seemingly to where Australia is. Interestingly, the name for the continent in the place of South America is Antipodes, which means with feet opposite, alluding to the fact that the inhabitants would be on the opposite side of the earth. This term was popularized by Plato, but in recent centuries came to be associated with Australia. Even more interesting is that it was used by St. Augustine to refer to the possibility of people living in the southern hemisphere, which he stated was an utterly incredible fable, believing it too unlikely that a peoples descended from Adam would have navigated the vast waters to propagate their race on the far side of the world. Even saints can be wrong. In the 40s AD, Pomponius Mela, the earliest known Roman geographer, wrote a geographical treatise called De Situ Orbis, or A Description of the World, and in it, just like Aristotle, he described a possible land in the southern temperate zone, but he calls it Antichthonies, which means opposite Earth. Later, in the 2nd century AD, Greek-Roman astronomer and mathematician Claudius Ptolemy, who also developed what is known as the Ptolemaic model of the solar system, sparked the European imagination when he, in his book The Geographia, depicted a landmass that enclosed the Indian Ocean. As far as we know, it wouldn't be for over another millennia that this imagined land would come to be explored. But in 1523, it would get a name that would stick. German cartographer Johann Skoner, on one of his many globes, labelled the Great Southern Land as just that, Terra Australis, Southern Land, where we get the name Australia. And that is where we'll leave this video today. If you would like to learn how Europeans, including British, Dutch, Portuguese, and even the Spanish and French, went from dreaming about this mythical land on the far corner of the map to actually traversing half the world to seek it out, please let me know. One of these nations endeavoured to find the Great Southern Land for the primary purpose of claiming it for the Catholic Church. So again, please let me know if you'd like to hear that story. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention. Cheers.